Refresh this. Get ready to go. 2 minutes of showtime. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Again, it's all about leadership this week. We're 5 pillars of leadership. So hopefully my phone doesn't start flaking out on me. It looks like it's doing a little something. Nevertheless, rock and roll. Get the show started. So I'm going to put my fingers too. So those over there who are interested. Good morning. Anybody, a few people, definitely my man. All right. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Michael, keep morning. So I just want to get this over to my fan page real quick. Your connection, yeah, let's see, on Wi-Fi, so if the connection keeps flaking out on you, then jump over to YouTube. Jump over to YouTube because I'll be on YouTube as well. Yeah, I see it's doing something a little weird. So yeah, you can jump over to YouTube if Facebook continues to act up. Yeah, I never know what I'm going to get with this doggone thing, man. So hop over to YouTube and help on YouTube. And we are getting ready to go live there. And you ready? All right. So let's get a little better on Facebook. Like I said, if it continues to flake out, then YouTube is Financial Health Mentor on YouTube is the channel, and we're getting ready to go live over here right now.
Like Kanye West says, having money is not everything, not having it is. No, Deuteronomy 8:18 says God gives us the ability to create wealth. You don't like money so much, why get up and I'm just trying to leave legacy for my not everything, but when you got it, you can do some cool stuff. Now, your host for Talking Money in the Morning, Financial Health Mentor, the working class, Mr. H Cortez.
Good morning, and welcome to Talking Money in the Morning Live with your main man, H Cortez, the one and only Financial Health Mentor, the working class, where I do my absolute best and practical yet proven strategies for working class women all over this great nation of ours. It is truly an honor privilege and a blessing to come to you guys each and every morning, and to have you tune in to hear the commentary of one man and my thoughts and opinions on some of the things that I'm going through in life, some of the things that I'm trying to achieve in my life, and some of the ways that I want to help those around me have success as well. So I certainly appreciate you guys tuning in every morning. You guys don't know how much it means to me to have you guys tuning in. So we're gonna get right into the show. As I told you yesterday, I'm trying to format the show to make it a little bit more clean, a little bit more professional, so that you have a show that you're proud to share and that you can definitely come back to over and over again. So a little less rambling, a little bit more format, and hopefully we can find a good balance so that the content stays pure without a lot of fluff, because I'm not too much into fluff, but I do want to format the show a little bit better. So if you guys are checking us out on YouTube, then do me a huge favor. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button so that you get notifications every time we get ready to go live, or even when I post different things as well. Also, do me a favor and grab the link and share it on your favorite social media platform. Wherever you like to share links and engage with people, then share it on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you like to share links. I would greatly appreciate it. We want to get this show in front of as many people as possible, because I believe getting up early and starting your day with something positive, encouraging, uplifting, and motivating is one of the best things that you can do outside of meditating and speaking with your creator. So same thing for you guys on Facebook. I know the stream seems to be a little bit choppy. I can't do anything about that. I do the show from the same spot in my house every morning. So some days it's good, some days it's just not. But if you're having trouble with the stream, then always jump over to YouTube. YouTube seems to be pretty solid since I had to call and jump on Charter about my connection. But share the stream and invite people specifically. If you know people who are in leadership positions and maybe thinking about how they can become a better leader, go ahead and invite them to take a look at this particular series, because that's what this week is all about, the 5 pillars of leadership. Also, keep in mind that when you guys, if I say anything that makes sense to you, that you resonate with, that you like, the hearts and the thumbs up and all that kind of stuff makes a difference in the eyes of Facebook. It says that this show has some great content that people resonate with, and they will push it out in front of more and more people because of how you guys engage and interact with the show. So they like to see people sharing shows, they like to see people commenting, and they like to see people engaging during the show as well. So if you can do that for me, I'd appreciate it. And now, without further ado, let's get into it, guys. Just in case you stumbled upon this show on accident, I like to start the show every morning with letting you know exactly who this show is for. This show is for risers and grinders only. If you're a dud, then we don't want you here, right? This show is for risers and grinders only. So if you are ready to get up, get out, and get something, this show is for you. If you are the type of person that wants to build a legacy for your family, then this is your show, right? If you are the type of person that says, you know what, I've got the desire to build wealth, I've got the discipline to build wealth, I'm hungry, I just need some guidance, I just need some strategy, some tips, I need a mentor, I need a coach, I need a team, I need a culture of people. If that is you, then this is your show, right? This is your show. If you are similar to me and every night I lay down, I'm thinking to myself, what can I do tomorrow, next week, next month, next year to ensure that my children's children are proud to bear my name, then this is your show, my friend. This is your show. So if that's you, then I want you to keep it locked right here. Share it with your friends and families, because you start surrounding yourself with people who are thinking like you, behaving like you. It's going to encourage and motivate and keep you on the right path. The power of association is real, my friends. The power of association is real, right? So if, on the other hand, who is the show not for? The show is not for the bump on the log. The show is not for that person sitting on their tail waiting on a handout. The show is not for that pessimistic person who can only see the evil in everything. The show is not for those who are waiting on Donald Trump to fix the economy instead of focusing on their economy. This show is not for you if you don't want to do anything. You're waiting on a handout. You got that entitlement mentality where you think things are going to be handed to you and you're not willing to work for them. This ain't your show, man. This ain't your show, because I can promise you, everybody on this show is here looking to do better, and they're willing to take the correct and necessary actions to have what they want. Now, let me be perfectly clear about something. I don't have a problem with you not wanting to be wealthy. I only have a problem with you having a problem with me wanting to be wealthy, right? I don't get that, man. For the life of me, some people are satisfied and content with where they are. Some people have hit all of the goals that they've set for their lives, and they're cool and they're coasting. If that's you, cool. I'm not there yet. So don't be mad at me because I aspire to greater things, right? So if that's you, you're that pessimistic person, you're that welfare person, you're that poverty mindset person, this ain't your show, and you can exit stage left and we won't miss you. But I'll tell you this, like I tell you each and every morning, if you've never seen a future billionaire before, and yes, that's billion with a B, then I want you to take a screenshot, hold me to it, and watch me work over the next 5 to 10 years, right? Yes, you can become a billionaire in 5 to 10 years. You don't believe me? Ask Mark Zuckerberg. Right? You don't believe me? Ask the founders of Google. Right? So just understand that if that's not you, you can exit stage left. But what I would encourage you to do is get in the game with me and not cheer for me or cheer against me on the sideline, because billionaires create other billionaires. Just want to throw that out there. So today we're talking about the 5 pillars of leadership. We're doing a 5-part series on leadership. Pillar number 1 was yesterday, and I can't even remember that far back because I got so many notes for this second pillar. Oh, okay. So pillar number 1 was crystallized thinking, crystallizing your thinking. Pillar number 2 is planning and balance. Planning and balance. We're talking about the things that you want to start looking at in yourself, in your organization, in your group, in your company, in your business, in your life, that will help you become a better leader. So number 1 was crystallized thinking. Number 2 is planning and balance. So we're talking about planning and balance today, right? The power of a written plan. I don't know if you guys are trying to be able to write down a plan, brings your plans to life, brings you into action, right? It says when you can write down a plan, that proves that you know how to crystallize your thinking. You know why some people don't write their plans down? And myself included, right? Myself included. And as I tell you all the time, guys, I'm not talking to you. I'm not trying to teach you. I'm not trying to talk down on you. What you are witnessing is me lecture to myself. So these topics that I come up with, these are things that I'm battling with. These are things that I'm struggling with to overcome, to get better at. So when I'm doing this show is for me. Erica, India Irie said, the words that come out your mouth, you're the first to hear. I'm talking to me. I just happen to be talking out loud, and you guys get to witness. So don't think that, I don't want you to hold me to some standard and think I got it all together. I don't. The reason I do this show so that I can get it together, so that you guys can hold me accountable to help me get it together. So I just want to be clear on that, because this is, I'm not that dude, man. I'm trying to become that dude, right? And I'm just helping you go, hoping that you come along the ride with me along the way, right? So if you can't write down your plan, if you can't write a plan, that means that you need to go back to pillar number 1. That means you need to start practicing on how to better crystallize your thinking, right? It proves you have a crystallized thought process when you can write down a plan, right? When you can write down a plan. But if you can't write down a plan, then that kind of says that, wait a minute, the reason I can't write it down a plan because I can't really organize my thoughts. I can't really crystallize my thinking. If I can't crystallize my thinking, then usually I can't crystallize my thinking because I haven't moved from the fantasy and wishing mode to the dreaming and goal setting mode. So I want you to understand that if you're having trouble writing down your plan, then there's chances are your thoughts process isn't as crystallized as you think they are. When you have crystal clear thinking, then your plans will flow from that crystallized thought process right onto paper, right? And you bring those thoughts and those plans to life, right? 5 parts to a written plan. Now, just so you know, guys, in case you want to follow along, this is coming from the 5 Pillars of Leadership, right? This is a book by Paul J. Meyer and Randy Slechta, I think is his name, Slechta, Randy Slechta, right? So this is where I'm getting this from. Now, as you can see, the book is a little tattered and bruised. This is my second or third or fourth time reading this book. Is already highlighted, and I want to encourage you guys to, when you start building your library, don't be afraid to go back through some of the books that you already have on your shelf. And here's why. Yesterday I shared that there was a part in the book that I read on the show, and I swear I didn't see that in this book the first 2 times I read it. You know why I didn't see it? Because it went over my head. You know why it went over my head? Because there was some growth I needed to do from applying some of the things that I did pick up from the book the first time, the second time. So it's like this. I can read this book. The first time I read this book, 80% of it went over my head. 80% of it. But what did I do? I applied the 20% that resonated, that I got, that I was able to glean from it. I applied the 20%. By applying the 20%, it caused me to grow. So when I grew a little bit, read the book the second time, this time only 60% of it went over my head. And what did I do? I applied the 40% that I did glean from it, and that caused me to grow. So now on my third reading of the book, now only 40% of it is going over my head. So what am I going to do now? I'm going to apply the 60% that I'm getting out of it this time that caused me to grow. And eventually by the 4th, 5th, 6th time I read that thing, I'm going to get it all. And then I'm going to be able to apply it all. And then I become a better leader. So 5 parts to a written plan. Right? So number 1, your plan should be written in clear, concise manner. Your plan should be written in a clear and concise manner. Right? Don't write your plan as if you are a rocket scientist. Right? Don't write your plan as if you put your plan down in front of a 5th grader and they can't read and understand it, then that plan is way too complicated. Right? It's way too complicated. You want it to be clear and concise. Right? So when you're writing down your plan, it should be clear and concise. And if you've gone through the understanding of how to crystallize your thinking, then you should be able to simplify and write down a simple plan. It should be clear and concise. Right? Number 2. This is the planning phase. Now remember, in pillar number 2, it's planning and balance. So right now we're just talking about planning, and then the second half of the show we'll talk about the balance piece, right? Planning and balance. So number 2, your plan should have deadlines or target dates. Deadlines or target dates. When do you want to get this thing accomplished? Right? When do you want to achieve the results from this plan? Right? So again, number 1, it should be written in a clear and concise manner. You should be able to put it in front of a 5th grader, and they should not only be able to read it, but they should also be able to understand it and probably be able to execute some of that stuff in your plan. Right? That's how clear and concise it should be. That's how simple your plan should be. Right? And it only gets that way when you understand how to crystallize your thinking. Right? So, number 2, deadline, target date. Number three, here's where I was messing up. Number three, your plan should have a summary of the benefits to be gained. It should have a summary of the benefits to be gained, but it should also have a summary of the losses to be avoided. Right? Now, again, here's one of those things where this wasn't in the book the first two times I read it. Right? It was not in there. But that is a key point. So your plan should have a summary of the benefits to be gained, but also the losses to be avoided. Right? The losses to be, so you're talking about what am I going to get when I execute this plan? But then you have to ask yourself, what am I going to lose if I fail? What am I going to lose if this plan fails? That's important because we talked about yesterday in the crystallized thinking, one of the most important things to crystallizing your thinking is motive, understanding motive. What is really, really driving you? And I know a lot of people say money, but money ain't driving you. Something else is driving you to want the money because you need the money to do something. What do you want to do that you can't do because you don't have the money? That is the real motive, not the money. Right? So if you want to travel the world, then that's the real motive, but you got to get money to be able to buy plane tickets to travel the world. So you got to start understanding, identifying the real motive. Right? So, number one, goals should be written in a clear and concise manner. Number two, a deadline or target date should be placed on the goal. Number three, you need to include a summary of the benefits to be gained, and also potential losses that you're trying to avoid. Right? Number four, you have to give a summary of the potential obstacles that may find themselves in your way, as well as contingency plans to overcome them. Number four, you need to have a summary of the potential plans or the potential obstacles that could come up, as well as contingency plans to overcome them. So I don't know if you guys, I'm a guy who likes, I'm into sci-fi and that kind of stuff, and it amazes me that when you see a good sci-fi movie like Mars and that kind of stuff, they always have their main plan. They always anticipate some things not going quite right, and then they always have contingency plans to overcome those things if they happen. How many of you guys are putting in your plan the potential obstacles that could come up and creating the contingency plan to overcome them? Right? See, here's where you have to be careful when you look at this, right? See, this is another book, What You Say Is What You Get. So what we try to do is, because we understand the power of speaking positively and positive affirmations and speaking things into existence and all that stuff is very real. So what we like to do is we kind of want to plan and try not to mention the potential problems as if that's going to keep those potential problems from showing up. It's not that we are trying to speak those problems into existence, but we know that not everything goes according to plan. So we have to speak into existence the contingency plan to overcome some things that will come out of left field at us. Right? So your plan number four should have a summary of potential obstacles and contingency plans to overcome those potential obstacles. And then the fifth step, we're talking about 5 parts of a written plan. The fifth part is then you go into a step-by-step action plan. Right? Action plan. So you have your goal written in a clear, concise manner. Here's what we're trying to achieve. Right? Here is number 2, the date or deadline. We want to achieve this by this date. Right? Number 3, the summary of the benefits. If we achieve this, it's going to do this for the company. If we achieve this, it's going to do this for the family. If we do this, if we achieve this, it's going to do this for me. If we fail at this, here's how we're going to be negatively impacted. right? If we fail at this, this is how we're going to go backwards. This is how we're going to lose market share. So you have to include that. Not that we're trying to be negative, but we have to see the full picture, right? Because sometimes it's the fear of failure that is the greatest motive, right? Then number 4, we have to summarize the potential obstacles. So as I'm traveling down this road to become a billionaire, as I'm traveling down this road to help 1,000 families overcome their struggles financially, I'm going to run into some obstacles. I know I am. So I have to write in my written plan has to have contingency plans. I first have to identify the potential obstacles that I can run into. Yes, it'd be great if I never run into those obstacles, but I do have to have them in my peripheral. I have to understand that they are. Not that I'm focused on them. Here's where I'm focused, but those things I do have to be aware that they could crop up. And if I have my contingency plan before they crop up, then they become less of an impact, less of a negative impact because I was already prepared for them and I overcome them and I keep moving. If, on the other hand, I am not aware or I don't understand the potential for the obstacles that will crop up, so I don't have a contingency plan, that can really slow me down and cause me to become stagnant in my approach or in my pursuit of my goals. And then number 5 is the most critical part. Now that I know what I want to do, I know what the date for which I want to get it accomplished, I know how it's going to benefit me if I succeed, I know how it's going to hurt me if I fail, I've written down the potential obstacles that could crop up as well as a plan to overcome them before they even come up. Now I put together a step-by-step action plan. What am I going to do? Step 1, step 2, step 3, in sequence. In sequence and in by order of priority. So I have to do order of priority with sequence when you do your action plan. Right? We always want, so you guys know that I'm also reading this one, Eat That Frog, which is it's 21 great ways to stop procrastinating and get more done in less time. So from this, we glean that when you're doing an action plan, you want your plan to be categorized in order of priority and sequence. Priority is the things that will get you the most bang for your buck. So like I told you guys before, I don't know if you guys can see this, right? On the side of this book, it says the name of a company that I started about 20 years ago, right? Legacy International. So you guys can see that I've been about building my legacy for a long time. Legacy International was a company that I had some years ago. But the reason it's on here because I put this on my to-do list to say, okay, I need to label, I need to mark all of the books in my library, and that's what I'm going to do in my business for today, right? How many of you guys know that that's not an income-producing activity, right? But because I didn't understand principles of priority and sequence, I put this on the top of the list, and in this book it says the worst waste of time is to do something very well that need not be done at all, right? So that didn't have to be done at all. I could have been doing something that was going to produce some income, that was going to do something better for me. So when you do your action plan, you do it according to priority and sequence. This book is called Eat That Frog because most people procrastinate because they don't want to take on the task that is the most difficult and the biggest. They skirt around that. But in skirting around that, you do tasks that make you concentrate and focus on little tasks that bring you little results. So priority and sequence. So you want to do the biggest jobs first, but you have to think about sequence as well. If I'm building a house, then yes, I don't want to build walls before I lay the foundation, right? So you have to think priority, you have to think sequence. But daily action plan, guys. So that is part one of the show was on, because this pillar has two parts: planning and balance. Planning and balance. So that was the planning phase. And then I'm going to read you an excerpt from the book as well. But so just to recap the first half of the show, the power of a written plan helps bring goals to life, and it proves that you are able to crystallize your thinking. If you're struggling to write down a plan, it's not that you don't know how to spell. It's not that you don't know how to write. It's not that you don't know how to order things. If you're struggling to write your plan, that means you're struggling with crystallizing your thinking. Right? So you go back to yesterday's show and listen to what we talk about on how to. I gave you some tips on how to crystallize your thinking. Then the 5 parts of a written plan are: number 1, write the goal first and foremost and make sure it's clear and concise. Give it a deadline, number 2. Number 3, summarize the benefits to be gained and the losses to be avoided. Number 4, summarize the potential obstacles that you might face and a contingency plan to overcome them if you do face them. And then number 5, you continue by writing a step-by-step action plan. What are you going to do step by step, day by day, moment by moment, minute by minute, hour by hour, or however you're going to attack or approach your plan. So let me just read this short little excerpt, because here's something else that was not in the book. Well, it was in the book because I didn't get it, but I highlighted it. It says, remember, 90% of all failure comes from quitting. 90% of all failure comes from quitting. But the reverse is also true. You are 90% of the way to your goals the moment you commit yourself to their achievement. Right? 90% of failure comes from quitting. But you're 90% to the way of reaching your goals the moment you commit to their achievement. Right? How many of us have commitment issues? Right? My name is Cortez Springer. I have commitment issues. Right? See, I do that AA thing because you can't get or move on or anything until you first admit where you are. That's extremely powerful. Right? So if you have a commitment issue, that might be the reason you can't go to or achieve some of the goals, is because not that you don't want them, not that you don't have a burning desire, you might have commitment issues. Right? So you have to ask yourself, is my problem really I just don't want to commit to the process, commit to the time that it's going to take to actually get this thing done? Is that what's keeping me from starting? Because I know in order to finish it, I'm going to have to put in 4 hours a day, and I really don't want to commit to 4 hours a day over 30 days, over 2 weeks, over whatever. Right? So you have to start thinking about whether or not you have commitment issues. Right? I ran into a lot of people when I was promoting my financial success membership. I was letting people join my financial success membership for $5. Right? But it wasn't that they didn't have the $5. They had commitment issues to the $35 a month. Now I said, you're going to get a continual education, mentorship, products that you could sell, a business that you can monetize, branding and marketing coaching, all of that, right, for $35 a month. But they had commitment issues. And I said, not only you get all of that, I'm going to show you a way that you can probably bring an extra $200 back into your household every month. So that's going to cover the $35 a month fee. But it's just commitment issues. See, their commitment issue would not even allow them to logically understand that if I'm going to give you an extra $200 a month, the program pays for itself. But their commitment issues wouldn't even allow that part to come into their mind. So commitment issues are real, right? So that is the planning part. But the second part of pillar number 2 is balance. Right? And why do you have to go through the planning phase? Is because the planning phase allows you to have balance. Right? You cannot be balanced without the ability to properly plan. What is our number one asset? In fact, I would say even greater than our number one asset, we know it's time. But let me break it down to you like this, guys. All life is time. That's all it is. All life is my existence within a time continuum. That's all life is. All life is time. Right? So when you start thinking about it like that, then if you're going to have a balanced life, you can't balance your life without the ability to properly plan your life so you can budget your time. Budget your time. So planning also helps you become what the book talks about is becoming a total person. Becoming a total person. Right? And it talks about 6 specific areas that you want to manage and so that you can become a total person. Right? Number 1, family. Family. Right? Your relationships and your interactions with those you love. Family. Right? You want to be able to balance your family life. See, the book talks about the best leaders are well-balanced individuals. Well-balanced. Well, you heard the term well-rounded because it gives an illustration of these 6 points. I want you to think about them like spokes on the wheel. Spokes on the wheel. And the center of the wheel is you trying to become a total person. Right? So, family. Where are you with your family and your balance with family? Right? Are you being the best family person that you can be? Are you devoting enough of your life? Because again, all life is time. So when I say the word life, I want you to think time. So are you devoting enough of your life to your family? Or in other words, are you devoting enough of your time to your family? You have to be balanced to become a great leader. Number 2, financial. Right? Financial. Are you devoting enough of your life to sound financials? Right? What is your relationship with money and other resources? Right? How are you doing in that area? Are you out of balance financially? Is what you're doing for your family robbing you of the life that you need to be devoting to make sure that your financials are right? Right? Number 3, mental. Right? We're talking about becoming a total person. Family, financial, mental. What is your mental picture looking like? Are you devoting enough of your life to learning? Are you devoting enough of your life to gaining and applying knowledge? Or are you devoting enough of your life to your mental awareness of where you are personally so that you can become a better leader? Right? Mentally. What is your relationship with yourself? What is your relationship with your thoughts? What is your relationship with your growth and learning and your ability to take in new information, then apply it and categorize it so it can be properly applied in your life? Right? Mental. Right? 6 areas of life that you want to be able to properly plan so that you can balance. 6 areas of life that you need to always be aware of when you're planning to run your organization, when you're planning to run your business. 6 areas of life that you want to maintain balance. Physical. Are you devoting enough of your life to your physical health? What is your relationship with your gym, right? What is your relationship with your care for your body? Physically. Extremely important, guys. I know most billionaires have a strict workout regimen. Most billionaires wake up between 4:30 and 6:30 every morning, and most billionaires start their day with a workout. A commitment to their physical health. How much of your life are you devoting to physical health? Right? Again, I'm giving you 6 areas, and then I want you to think about these 6 areas as a spoke to a wheel, right? And in order for that wheel to roll continuously, he said, I'm on my treadmill watching you. Good deal, good deal. In order for that wheel to roll smoothly, all of those spokes have to be the same distance, right? So if your spokes aren't the same distance, if you're out of balance in one of these areas, that's going to create a wobbly wheel, right? And how many of you guys know people who are wobbling their way through life because they're out of balance? How many of you guys know leaders who are strong in one area and weak in others, so they're wobbling their way through their leadership responsibilities? Right? So we're talking about 6 areas. So the first is family, the second is financial, the third is mental, the fourth is physical, the fifth is social. What is your relationships? He said, then my set fresh out of bed. What is your relationship with those around you? How do you interact with your community? How do you interact with your neighbors? How do you interact with those in other places, right? So number 5 is your social. How do you interact with others? What is your relationship? How much of your life are you devoting to? How much of your life are you devoting to, or how much of your time are you, because remember, time should be synonymous with life. How much, because all life is time. How much of your life are you devoting to being social? So you're engaging, so you're creating healthy relationships all around you outside of the ones that you create with the people you love in your family. You're social. What is your relationship within society, right? Number 5. And then number 6, spiritual, right? What is your relationship like with your Creator? What is your relationship like with your Creator? If you are out of balance in these areas, you're going to struggle with leadership. Because all leaders have to first lead themselves. And when you're out of balance and you're not able to become a total person, meaning not saying that you have to be great in all of these things, but I'm equally effective in all of these things, so my wheel rolls smoothly. Right? But if you're short financially and you're short socially, now you got 2 spokes that are shorter than the rest. So that creates a wobbly wheel. That wheel is now out of balance. So, balance, the pillar number 2 of leadership is planning and balance. So when you think about planning, now, again, you should have a plan. It doesn't have to be an extensive plan, but you should have a plan to help you assess where you are in each of these 6 areas. Do an honest internal assessment of where you are in each of these 6 areas, right? If you are a strong family person, but you're weak financially, then develop a plan that's going to help you financially so that you can become into balance with your finances. If you are strong with family and finance, but you're weak mentally and physically, you don't work out, you don't read books, you don't acquire knowledge, then develop a plan that's going to strengthen you in those areas. See, what we tend to do is we tend to accentuate our strengths, and we like to hide or bury our weaknesses. And then when somebody exposes our weaknesses, we want to kill them, right? We like to accentuate our strengths. This is what I'm good at. This is the only thing that I'm going to do because I'm good at it, so I'm going to stay in this lane. And then we like to bury our weaknesses. But then let somebody come alongside of us and expose our weaknesses, and we mad as Gehenna. because they expose our weakness. What I want you to think about is I want you to expose your own weaknesses. And just expose them to yourself. Expose them to yourself. And then do something about them. Not so that you can become great in the areas that you're weak, but so that you can become balanced. So that you can move through life more consistently, more evenly, more smoothly. Right? So you should have a plan. If you are weak, if you've identified that you're out of balance in some of these areas, then you should be thinking about developing a plan using the 5 parts to a written plan. Write out a plan that's going to help you become balanced in these 6 areas. Recap again. Family, right? What is your relationship with those you love? What is your relationship with your children, with your mom, your spouse, your brothers, your sisters, even those dear friends that have now become closer than to you like family, right? Financially, what is your relationship like with money, right? What is your relationship like with your other resources? Because money isn't the only resource, but if you mismanage money, chances are you will mismanage all of your resources, right? What is your relationship like with yourself and your own mental capacity? I know people, and I'm not going to call any names, but I know people who literally cannot be alone with their own thoughts. Right? And you probably know people like this too. And you might be like this and you might not even realize you're like this. If you want to determine whether or not you have a problem being alone with your own thoughts, the next time you get in your car to go somewhere, make sure the radio is off. See, you can't drive in a car with the radio off and not get deep into the recesses of your own thoughts. That's why I rarely play the radio, because I'm always in my own thoughts, always in my own head. See, you know people, and parents, I want you to watch this in your children. I want you to watch this in your children. If your child always has to have something else going on in their head, chances are they're a little afraid to be with their own thoughts, and that could be a potential problem. So you know children who first thing they do when they get up is they put in earbuds. Take the earbuds out, they turn on the TV. Turn off the TV and they're jamming the radio. Right? That says to me that when people are like that 24/7, then there's an issue with being alone with their own thoughts. Being alone with their own thoughts. And that could be a problem. So be careful. Watch your children and make sure that, start shutting the house down for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and just sit in a room together in quiet time. We ain't having no conversations. I don't care what you think about. We're just going to sit in this room. And the reason we do it in the same room is so that you know that they aren't looking at checking their phones and all that kind of stuff. We're just going to sit here and we're just going to let and sink into the resources of our thoughts, right? And then the other reason that's powerful is when you start to teach your children how to do this at a young age, and they can sit down and they can sit in a quiet place. Where do you hear from God? When do you hear from God? Where is it that you be when you hear from God? You're in the quiet places, in the quiet recesses of your own thoughts. The reason our children can't hear from God because as parents we're not teaching them how to take and meditate and get into some quiet time. Right? Our children are freaking brilliant. But you have to teach them some of these strategies that you're learning as adults. You start feeding it to them as children. And they start learning how to hear from God as children. And then that will take their lives to a whole nother level. A whole nother level. Right? And I don't know where that came from, but somebody need to hear that today. Or somebody on the replay is going to need to hear that. So that's extremely important. So family, mental, don't be afraid to get into the recesses of your own thoughts. And some people don't want to hear from God. That's why they do all of those things. because they know the moment my life quiets down a little bit, he's going to start calling me. He's going to start revealing his purpose for my life, and that's what some people are running from. That's what some people are running from. That's what some people are running from. Right? But okay, enough about that. Then physical, right? Guys, if you are not taking care of your physical being, right? This body is the house that my soul lives in. So I have to give it some attention. I have to give it some attention. See, we must all learn how to be alone, but not lonely, right? This body is the house that my soul lives in. And I only get one. So I have to take care of it so that as long as my soul is existing on this earth, then I can connect and I can continue and I can do things with everybody. This house, this body is the house that my soul lives in. So if you're not taking care of it, if you're not fueling it properly, putting the right things in, right? If you're not keeping it moving, see, and when man makes something, right? When man makes something, the less it's used, the longer it lasts. When man makes something, the less you use it, the longer it lasts. Right? But when God makes something, the more you use it, the longer it lasts. Right? Don't believe me? Anybody ever had a broken limb and it's been in a cast? And that thing come out of the cast and it looked like it's shriveled up versus the arm that wasn't in the cast? Because when you don't use your body, your muscles atrophy. That means they shrink, they shrivel. So if you want to maintain this house that your soul lives in, then you have to maintain a certain level of activity. You have to keep moving. You have to keep exercising. You have to keep fueling this thing properly. And I'm going to give you a tip on fueling this thing properly, because some of us have trouble eating with the stuff that we're putting into our bodies, right? If you're having trouble getting off junk food and things of that nature, then I want you to start eating real food first. Real food first. So, for instance, if before you go out the house and you know you're going out to eat, then eat your salad at home before you go out to eat. Because what happens when you eat real food, see, phony food has a lot of MSG in it. I don't know if you guys know what MSG does to your body. MSG turns off your leptin receptors. Your leptin receptors, leptin is a chemical that your body creates, and it sends a signal to your brain to say, hey head knob, I'm full. You can stop eating now. Close your mouth. Stop putting things in. So when you eat foods that are rich with MSG, then it turns off the receptors. What is a receptor? Something that receives that signal. So when your receptors are off, they can't receive the leptin signal to tell your brain stop eating. So you continue to eat junk after junk. But here's what happens on the other hand. When you eat real food, and I'm talking about the stuff that comes in the package that God put it in. If it comes in a box, it comes in a jar, if it comes in a can, chances are it's been adulterated in some form or way. So you want to eat foods that come in the package that God put them in, right? And then you have to be careful with some of that stuff because they spraying all kinds. But if you eat those sorts of foods, then your leptin receptors are receiving the message that says, hey, I've had enough. But also, your body is assimilating the minerals and the nutrients that are coming from the real foods. And that's what really triggers the leptin to say, hey, I was yearning for some magnesium. You ate a couple bananas and a little sea salt. That gave me the magnesium that I needed. So the leptin receptors kick in and it tells your body to stop. So a lot of times we're continuing to eat because we're minerally depleted. So if you want to get off of junk food, then start putting good things in, and by default, you stop putting bad things in. See, Ray J can tell you that what she did to start reshaping her body and start fixing herself molecularly is, it wasn't that she put some of the greatest food in. She did start eating healthier, but just by the fact that she stopped putting the bad food in, it started to change her body. So sometimes it's not about eating the fruits and the vegetables, it's about not what's coming in, right? Just stop that. And that can help you physically. So you got to take care of your physical body, right? And then social. Now, we talked about some people not wanting to be alone with their thoughts, and some people are too social because they don't want to be alone with their thoughts. So they always have to be in a room full of people. They always have to be partying. They always have to be where everything is going on because they're running from the recesses of their own mind, right? Right? Addition by subtraction, better living. Yep. But then at some of those are too much into the resources of their own mind, so they can't get around other people. You are who you are because of three main things: the places you go, the books and information that you allow into your head, and the people you associate with. The people you associate with. So socially, what are you doing? How much of your life are you devoting to becoming a better, making sure that you're balanced socially? Not too much social activity, but not too little. Enough so that I'm constantly building neuroreceptors, because when I'm around different people, they think differently, they talk differently, they require me to process different information all the time, and that builds receptors in my brain that will help me, that builds neural connections in my brain that will keep me growing. And as long as you keep growing, you can keep going, right? And then spiritually, what is your relationship like with your Creator? So when you think about getting into the quiet time where you can hear from your Creator, that's important. If you're a Christian, then getting into the Word of God is important, right? And if you're a Christian, applying the Word of God is even more important, right? Right? I know people can tell me what the books say, but can you show me what the books say? See, I try not running around telling people what the books say. I try to live my life showing people what the books say. And that's a better witness, in my opinion. Right? So what is your relationship like with your Creator? So planning and balance is necessary if you're going to become an effective leader. The first person you have to lead is you. So you have to learn planning and balance for yourself first and foremost. And then you can learn how to plan and balance for your business, for your organization, for your youth group, for whatever it is that you're involved in. Planning and balance. Pillar number 2 of the 5 pillars of leadership. Guys, we are at the top of the hour. And as I told you before, as we start to properly format the show, then we're going to start on time. We're going to end on time. So just an hour for each and every show. So it sounds like, according to the comments, look like you guys got some value out of this stuff, man. And I love you guys, man. And I love my community. And I just believe that, the more of us that have these gifts and abilities and talents to help communicate positive messages, the better. So I encourage you that if that is you, don't just listen to me. You have the ability to take complex things and break them down and make them simple, make them easy to digest. Then start your own show, start your own blog, start a 5-minute daily something that will help touch the lives of people, man. Because we got to get to a place where each one teach one, right? Help me understand the things that that God has given you so I can incorporate them into my life. And I'm going to help you understand the things that God has given me so you can incorporate that into your life so that we can become that total person, right? That total purpose or that total person, right? And then when you become balanced like that, it's very easy to stick with your passion so that you can find your purpose. Find your purpose, guys. So that's what it's all about. Appreciate you guys. And I apologize to my sponsor for the day, Big Family Wealth Builder. So I'll double up and give you my sponsors tomorrow. I forgot to give a sponsor for today. So that's another reason that I have to format the show so I can keep things on track. Because I'm a one-man operation with this show. So I'm not like where Ray J was on TV and she had producers and she had makeup people and she was, so I'm a one-man operation, Ray J. You was doing your thing. You look good, sis. So I appreciate you sharing behind the scenes to all of that stuff. So if you guys aren't checking out Ray J, man, she's doing big things, and I love to connect with people who are doing big things. So with that, guys, I want you to get your money up. Talk to you tomorrow because you absolutely can do it. Peace out, people.